Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am so incredibly thrilled to have you here because today we're tackling a topic that practically all of us deal with, yet very few of us actually know how to solve. We're talking about overcoming the overthinking trap. If you're someone who loves learning and growing, but you often feel completely bogged down by your own thoughts, well, you're in the exact right place. We're going to dig into the root causes and, more importantly, some proven, practical solutions to get your mind working for you rather than against you. I mean, just think about it. Have you ever literally stayed up all night tossing and turning, just analyzing a simple text message? Or maybe someone just gave you a passing glance at work, and suddenly your brain is flooded with a million what-ifs and hidden meanings, like, did they mean this? Oh no, did they mean that? It's such a relatable scenario, and it is instantly draining. You're losing sleep over information that hasn't even changed, just looping the same thoughts over and over again. It's absolutely exhausting, right? Well, I want to validate that experience for you right off the bat. You are definitely not alone in this, and it's something we can actively fix. So here is our game plan for today. First, the paralysis by analysis. Second, our evolutionary brain trap. Third, the illusion of control. Fourth, critical versus overthinking. And finally, practical steps to overcome. We're going to break this problem down logically and arrive at some very concrete solutions. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the paralysis by analysis, also known as the problem. So what exactly happens when we get stuck in this mental loop? Paralysis by analysis is basically a state where continuous analysis of a situation completely halts your decision-making. You're essentially creating a circular loop in your mind. The information you have hasn't changed one bit, but your continuous interpretation of it creates this massive mental traffic jam. And it practically paralyzes your productivity. Your ability to make a choice, really any choice, just completely freezes up. And the impacts of this are super far-reaching. Overthinking breeds chronic anxiety and indecision. It leads to a massive loss of productivity and focus. You might be sitting right in front of a book, supposedly studying, but you're just stuck in a mental loop, learning absolutely nothing. It also shows up physically, right? We're talking insomnia, muscle tension, and sometimes even severe headaches or migraines. And on top of all that, it puts a huge unnecessary strain on your relationships. If you're constantly overanalyzing why a friend wore a certain outfit or exactly what their tone of voice meant, you kind of just ruin the natural, effortless flow of that relationship. Which brings us to our second point, our evolutionary brain trap, or the why. Let's look at exactly why we do this to ourselves. Now, this is a massive aha moment right here. Overthinking? It's not a personal failure. It's biological. Just look at the animal kingdom. Animals evolved with these incredible physical defenses, blinding speed, razor-sharp claws, the ability to fly. But us humans? In the evolutionary timeline, we kind of lost out on a lot of those physical traits. We aren't the fastest, we definitely don't have claws, and we obviously can't fly. Our one tool, our absolute greatest weapon for survival, became the brain. Thinking, analyzing, and problem-solving became our primary defense mechanisms. So the absolutely crucial point is this. Because our survival relied entirely on the brain, we evolved to constantly analyze our environment for threats. We had to stare into the dark and anticipate danger just to stay alive. But in our modern world, this incredible evolutionary adaptation kind of backfires. When faced with the unknown today, our brain still frantically searches for threats, resulting in chronic indecision and fear. We overthink because our biology is basically trying to protect us from saber-toothed tigers that just aren't there anymore. Let's move right along to our third section and see how this feeds into our modern psychology, the illusion of control. See, deep down, we overthink because we desperately want to control our environment. But overthinking creates a completely false sense of control over uncertain situations. We essentially trick ourselves into believing that if we just analyze a situation long enough, if we just look at every single angle, we'll somehow gain power over it. But it's a complete illusion. Thinking about the weather doesn't stop the rain, right? All that analysis provides absolutely zero real-world control. So what's actually driving the solution today? Well, it comes down to a few key things. Social perfectionism is a really big one. We want everything we do to be absolutely flawless. Then there's the fear of repeating past mistakes. We analyze constantly just to avoid getting hurt again. But here's where it gets super fascinating. For a lot of us, it becomes a subconscious addiction to analyzing events. Have you ever found yourself endlessly obsessing over some political debate or a family drama that has literally nothing to do with you, just because you're addicted to the act of thinking? And finally, the sneakiest driver of all, using thought as an escape from taking actual action. Okay, let's address section 4, critical versus overthinking. We need to understand the nuance here. We really need to separate the hero from the villain here, because thinking itself is for sure not the enemy. Critical thinking, that is essential for humanity. It's what makes us human, it's focused, objective problem solving. Overthinking, on the other hand, is entirely unnecessary. It halts action, it's literally just splitting hairs over things that won't change the outcome. While critical thinking ensures we move forward, overthinking just ensures we accomplish less. Because honestly, when you think way more than you need to, you end up doing much less than you should. All right, now for the best part. Let's move into our final section, practical steps to overcome. It's time to move from these psychological diagnoses into some actionable, concrete relief. Here is a super practical exercise you can start using today, the time boxing technique. When you catch yourself overthinking a minor choice, like, say, deciding which book to buy online, create a boundary. Step 1, set a timer for 1, 5, or maybe 7 minutes. Step 2, use that specific time to thoroughly analyze it and make your decision. Step 3, the very second that timer goes off, stick to your decision and move forward. No looking back. Setting these strict boundaries forces us out of that infinite loop and right back into the realm of action. Now, when you're trapped in a loop, your mind just loves to default to the absolute worst-case scenario. When you feel that happening, I want you to stop and ask yourself this incredibly grounding question. What is the actual probability of this worst-case scenario happening? Not the possibility, but the actual probability. Let's look at a fantastic analogy from our source material about airplane travel. When you book a flight, you could spend a whole week agonizing over the worst-case scenario, a plane crash. Now, is a plane crash mathematically possible? Yes, history shows it can't happen. But is it highly probable? No way. It is mathematically almost impossible on any given flight. There is a massive difference between something being merely possible and something being probable. And hey, if the plane actually does crash, what good did all that worrying do anyway, right? Acknowledge the math and let go of the improbable. Here are just a few more quick relief strategies to keep in your toolkit. First, challenge your thoughts. If you've been worrying about something for 30 minutes, stop and ask yourself, has this last half hour of worrying actually helped solve the problem at all? Second, practice self-compassion. This one is huge. We often overthink because we fear the blame of making a mistake. If you can just love and forgive yourself, that fear completely disappears. Third, try some mindfulness or meditation if that fits your vibe. It works wonders for staying present. And finally, go engage in a team sport. Overthinking usually happens in total isolation. When you're playing a team game, you have to react quickly to others, which completely shatters those isolated mental loops. I want to leave you with one final, kind of provocative thought today. The next time you find yourself endlessly analyzing a situation, I want you to ask yourself, is your overthinking just an excuse to avoid taking action? Are you hiding behind your thoughts simply to avoid the responsibility and the potential failure of actually doing the work? It's a tough question for sure, but answering it honestly might just be the absolute game changer you need to break your overthinking trap forever. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for today's explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.